name is Robert Schueller. I'm here, thank you. I'm here at Melissa's Produce at the test kitchen for our annual holiday events. This event, my fellow food bloggers and friends here in the media from LA have an opportunity to be a part of a contest where we open it up for appetizer contest and a dessert contest. But me today, I am with you here to talk about some of the exciting produce trends that have been happening based upon what consumers have been buying the last 365 days in comparison to the 365 days before that. As I mentioned, Melissa's is the largest variety supplier of produce in the United States. If you didn't know, we have over 1,500 different produce items, so that's a lot of items. You'll find our products at mainly the main grocery chain stores across the United States. We're located in all 50 states. We do business with the top 25 retailers. However, from a food service perspective, we actually supply food service here in Southern California and various stadiums across the country, like New York Yankee Stadium, Mets Stadium, the Flyers and the 76ers in Philly, the Dallas Cowboys there in Texas, and then all the stadiums here in Southern California. So if you're not buying our products in the local produce department, you might be enjoying them at the tables or at the stadiums. All right, so every year I put together, and this is common in the food industry, where we're putting together trends of what we believe or what we know what are going to happen in the coming years. The difference between the produce trends presentation that I give versus research companies, mine is based specifically on sales that have been happening. I'm not a gypsy. I don't look into a crystal ball and make up anything. I tell it like it is because it's based upon our proprietary software, Produce Pro, that measures the sales of our specialty produce for all 50 states. So let us begin. I have a great handful of some of the products I'm going to talk about here today in different categories. And so let's get started here. One of the most exciting fruits, though most people think is a vegetable, and I'm going to talk about it because it's actually a newer variety that is available to the United States, and this is called the tropical avocado. We introduced these to the United States just over 4 months ago, and it became an instant hit. As you see, it doesn't look like your regular Hass avocado. The Hass avocado is the most popular avocado available commercially here in the United States. Here in California, the avocados can cost you about $2, but if you're on the East Coast, they can cost as much as $4. So we thought that the Hass avocado needed a little bit of competition. We found a variety. It's out of the Dominican Republic, and the skin, when ripe, is green. So as you know, most avocados, the thing you know that it's ripe is it's soft to the touch. Now, how does it taste? It tastes somewhat similar to a Hass avocado. Now, this green avocado is not to be mixed up with the other green avocado that you see on the East Coast that grow out of Florida. I think they're called slimcados. They're much larger in size, but this one is more, just a little bit bigger than the Hass. This is how the taste difference between the avocados. So the Hass avocado contains a lot of oils. The slimcado, the large green one from Florida, it doesn't have a lot of oils. I would think it's more water-based than oil-based, but the Hass avocado is very oil-based. Now this variety, which is called the tropical avocado, is like 80% oil-based, 20% water-based in terms of flavor profile and texture. But you have an avocado that doesn't cost $4 each on the East Coast. So we're really excited about these. They come out of the Dominican Republic. And again, the key thing about this, this type of avocado, and it's marked tropical avocado, is you wait for it to soft to the touch, which is usually about 2 days at shelf life. You never want to put this fruit into the refrigerator because it will never fully ripen. And that goes for any avocados. So we're excited, and we're going to see a lot of big things happen with that variety in the year to come. Next, looking at the tropicals. Believe it or not, the star fruit have become significantly more popular. It's also referred to as the carambola, but the reason why it's called the star fruit is pretty obvious. It's a fruit. When you cut it, it grows naturally. It's not genetically modified or grown in a plastic container to go this. This is what the fruits look like. These are actually from Florida and they're available year round. So the availability of them having availability year round is a key to why they become so popular. But now they're being used as, just most recently, I've seen these, people have made like a fruit platter, like a Christmas tree and made the stars on it. So not only is it, not only does it taste good, but it's also ornamental. The taste is very different. It's not like a sweet fruit or anything like that from someone who's never had that. The whole thing is completely edible. All you have to do is wash off like you do all fruits and vegetables and then cut it. Even the seeds that are on the inside are not hard. You can eat right through them. I always refer to it as that it has the flavor of a mild kiwi, but has more of the texture like watermelon rind. It's somewhere in between there. The key for these star fruit to ripen is that they turn yellow, but the main thing is, though they may have a little bit of green to them, is that the edges turn black and the fruit is fragrant. And that's when you know a star fruit is ripe and ready to go. Now, also a very seasonal fruit that is available to us and extremely popular are the butterscotch pears. The butterscotch pears come from Korea. They're the largest of the Asian pear variety. They're grown in South Korea and they're imported during the months of November through about February, early March. The desirable trait about this is, even though it is in the shape of an apple, it is yellow-brown in color, has a very thin skin, has a very small core. It crunches like an apple, but it's actually in the pear family. And believe it or not, like 90% of this fruit is entirely edible. It doesn't have like a regular pear or apple. It's a very small core with a little few seeds. So a little goes a long way. But I think one of the most popular things about it, because it's a tasty fruit, is that it's a fruit you can actually, unlike other pears, you can actually put it out on a cheese board or a platter or a fruit crudité with other fruits. And it's the only pear that doesn't oxidize. So that is really cool because usually you don't see pears unless they're little baby pears on a cheese or fruit board because they would turn brown automatically and these don't. And that's why they've become so popular to look forward to. Next up, the number one sold variety of vegetable in the United States are potatoes. Mainly you refer to them as roots or starches. The particular category of potatoes that have been trending have been the smallest sized ones, and we refer to them as peewee. The two most popular peewee varieties is the ruby gold and the cousin to it, which is the Dutch yellow potato. The Dutch yellow potato is our signature variety. It's the variety that never turns green on the skin. You know how many baby potatoes, when you set them out on the counter or in the kitchen, and they get fluorescent lighting or sun lighting on them, the skin turns green. That never happens on the Dutch yellow potato and the ruby gold potatoes because the ruby golds are actually the cousin to the Dutch yellow potatoes. And it was so funny because the backstory behind this is the peewees, they naturally occur. When you pull up a potato root, all the rootlets come underneath them as well. They grow, you know, they multiply like bulbs, and it's the potatoes. Well, 15 years ago, they didn't allow this peewee grade because it was too small to ship. There's a grading process in it, and they said, these are no good, they're duds, and they were thrown away, or actually they were kind of recycled and made into mulch and whatnot. But the neat thing about the peewee potatoes, now that they're allowed and they're in this size, you don't have to cut them. You just do what you do with regular potatoes. You wash them, you don't have to skid them, and of course the cooking time's even faster the smaller the potatoes. So the peewee potatoes is the trend here, and it has a lot to do with the convenience and shorter cooking times. Now, continuing on in the convenience trends, is this coconut right here. This is one of the things, the reason why this one's trending so much is because it's the coconut that's available organically on a year-round basis. We get them from Thailand. This is the sweet young variety, but it looks a little different. Why? Because they shaved off the top and put this this knob on the top of it. I'm going to show everyone because this is actually a newer product in produce departments across the country. Now you can finally go into the store, buy a coconut, and literally start drinking it before you make it to your car. Usually, when someone buys, you have to bring it home and it becomes a science project in your garage with the hammer and a chainsaw or whatever you need to open these up. Now, the sweet young coconuts are desired for their water. If you do make your way in, if you have a good chef knife or a machete, and you do make your way in, there is flesh on the inside, but on the young coconuts, it's like pudding on the inside. The meat has not fully developed, so it's like coconut pudding on the inside. But most of the time, the young coconuts are enjoyed for their water. I'm going to show you how fast, after you purchase your coconut, how fast it is to enjoy these. So you have to read the green tab right here, and you have to say, and there's a little thing right here that says pull safety lock. That takes off the lock. Now you're able to, it says pull, then press. So you push down right there, and then you peel. There's a little sticker right here. You peel off the sticker. You take the straw. Yes, you leave it in because you're pushing down the mechanism that breaches between the skin, the flesh, and the water. And there you go. Delicious. I could drink 2 or 3 of those a day. That's probably why I don't drink coffee. So they give you natural energy. Well, that's what I believe anyway. So you guys can attest to that since I don't drink coffee. Okay, what else? Let's continue on to this convenience line. And one of the things that Melissa's is known for 15 years ago is when we started bringing in the peeled beets, baby beets. This became an instant success for consumers across the United States because it was a product that was steamed and ready to go that didn't have to add preservative or anything like that or put into a can and not tasting, you know, how those canned beets taste really funny and they don't have texture to them. And so this has been an instant success. Since then, we've developed over 10 other varieties. We even do the beets gold. We even do the beets organically. And that is where the trend is going, because when you can save a consumer about 30 to 40 minutes in the kitchen when you would cook a beet and the messiness that goes along that, we know we have something there. Believe it or not, the #1 specialty item in the month of December, we sell 95 or 97% of black-eyed peas during the 1 month of December. And we've been doing the steamed black-eyed peas, which all of you will get today, because there's only one reason why people get black-eyed peas in December, because on New Year's Day, Southern tradition says you eat your black-eyed peas on that New Year's Day. There's a whole backstory about the Civil War and how many of the people who were fighting had to eat black-eyed peas on the fields because they would go days and nights without food, but they had black-eyed peas. But that's kind of the backstory. It's a Southern tradition, and believe it or not, the #1 specialty item sold in December every year for the last 10 years straight. So, okay, continue on, trends and convenience, and you guys are going to be the first ones to try these out. I've been talking about the jackfruit. This is the big white elephant in the room here. The jackfruit has become a success, and I'm going to give you the backstory on this. So Melissa's has carried jackfruit for over 25, 30 years now, longer than I've been here. I've been here, Melissa's, for 23 years. And I remember looking at this fruit when I first started working here 23 years ago and saying, nobody's going to buy this. But apparently there was a small market where the Asian markets wanted to, and we would only sell a few cases a week. But about 4 or 5 years ago, vegetarians and vegans started finding out what to do with this fruit. I'm going to tell you now, it is a tough fruit to break open, plus you have a lot of meat. But I am introducing to you guys the first of jackfruit pods, the fruits that are ready to go in the package, and it's a perfect serving for 2, maybe 3 people. So this is an 8-ounce unit there, and I know it's gonna be very popular because of the trends that have been with jackfruit, and especially for those who don't have a family of like 20, this fruit can be bought every day in your local produce department. So look for it. It's the fresh jackfruit pods. It does not have the seeds, which you can use when cooking in this raw form, but you need to cook with them. And it doesn't have the fibers either. It has the fruit, so you can either enjoy the fruit straight out of hand, literally out of the package. You don't even have to leave the store. Probably want to buy it first before you. But, and it doesn't have the fibers, which a lot of people might want to use the fibers in there to make it a little bit more chewy, but this is just the fruit pods of the fruit. So convenience, again, is a huge factor in produce trends. Next up, let's talk, going along with that, we have 2 other new products as well in the same package. This is jicama mandolined into what looks like tortillas, and we call them Jicama Wraps. So they're actually perfect little tortillas that you can use or wrap any fruits or vegetables. You can make a street taco and make it completely vegan, vegetarian, and gluten-free because the only ingredient here is jicama. So look for those in 2020, starting in about the first week. And then finally, with convenience and Latin foods, jicama is a very Latin food, but over the years has really been a cross-cultural ingredient. In Asian dishes, jicama has been used as a substitute for water chestnuts, and you see the jicama on most salad bars now as well. Another very popular Latin ingredient, but an ingredient that most people who work with it don't like working with it, and it's called cactus leaves or Nepals. We actually make it one step easier where you can find it diced and ready to go or whole, depending on how you would like to use it in your dish. So can you imagine finally not worrying about getting spines in your fingers there? So that is what the whole ones look like. And there looks to be about 5 of them into a package. So really you just have to chop them up or however you're gonna cook it. Or even have it one step further and it's already diced and ready to go depending on your applications. So you'll start seeing these 2 products as well as the Jicama Wraps at the first week in 2020 as well. And we're very excited about those as well. All right, moving on, I want to talk to you about a couple other fruits and vegetables because I know I'm going to be running out of time in a little bit. And first I'm going to start with the trend of, who knows out there, what is the #1 fruit in the world? Very good. It is the #1 fruit in the world, but here in the United States, it's like number 14, number 13. So what does the rest of the world know that we don't know? And there's over 100 different varieties of mangoes that are available to us in the United States. There's over 100. However, in the United States, there's only about 10 varieties that are commercially available. Most mangoes are actually, it's an imported crop because we don't have the tropical weather that most mangoes desire. However, there is a small crop during the summer months of a California crop that comes out of the desert down by Coachella, the Salton Sea in that area, Palm Springs area, that thrive in the heat area. This is an area where it's like 100 degrees during the day and about 120 during the day and about 100 degrees at night. So those particular mangoes called the green keat, the green skin ones, are vine ripened. And that's what I'm trying to get to here. Come 2020, Melissa's will have what is called the Saporano mango. It's I have it spelled there, S-A-P-U with a Inye mark, R-A-N-A. It is going to be a mango that we have tree ripened, or what commonly is known in the trade as conditioned. So they actually condition, fruit that are conditioned like bananas and avocados, because if you took like a banana or avocado off a tree, it would take several weeks for it to ripen up. But there's a conditioning in which you use ethylene to increase the ripening process. So the one thing that I'm trying to get here is that when you go into a produce department, more often than not, you're gonna get a mango that's like rock hard, and it may take like 4 or 5 or even longer to ripen up. But we're gonna have mangoes that are gonna be able to, when you get to the store, that are gonna be vine ripened, treated in that they're in a natural processing way, so it's not cold or hot water treated, because that's how they do most of the fruits that are brought into the United States are cold or hot water treated to make sure that the sap is cleaned off and there's no bugs or anything on the outside, because when you pick a mango, it naturally saps. So through that process, when you cold or hot water treat it, they have to be taken off the vine really early before they sweeten up. But the Saporano variety that we're going to be handling is a preconditioned variety, and it's going to be soft and ready to go. The one that I have in my hand right now happens to be the best tasting mango right now that are available to the United States, and these are the ones that are out of Australia. These are a vine ripened variety that are preconditioned, and you're going to enjoy them because you're going to go home with them. And the season is short, starts in November, and goes through about February. And this is usually the time right now in like December and January where a lot of the mangoes are not desirable and they're rock hard. You're definitely going to enjoy these. These ones are actually the Australian mangoes that we have are R2E2 variety. The other ones that we do carry are the Kensington Pride. We also carry a Key towards the later of the season there. But mangoes, there's something that the rest of the world understands that we don't understand in the United States, and it's very excited that we're going to be seeing some more mangoes available to us in the marketplace, because I love them. Okay, another fruit that I'm really excited about this year that became an instant success when we introduced it earlier this year is the Sharon Tay Melon. The Sharon Tay Melon is a French variety. We grow them now. Instead of just growing them in the summertime when we have melon varieties during the months of May, June, and July, we now have a source to have them imported in on a year-round basis. This is like the standard cantaloupe when you go to France, but it's the Sharon Tay. It's a personal size melon, so you can share it with one other person if you like. You don't have to share. It's a smaller size. It's distinctive because of its shape, its green striations, and one thing that shows that melons are sweet are the sugar cracks, which is very prevalent over the skin of this variety. It is an orange flesh variety, and if you like cantaloupe that is super sweet, this is the variety you like, because a lot of times cantaloupe and honeydew in the markets right now kind of taste cucumber-ish. They don't have a lot of flavors, but you'll never fail with the Melissa's Sharon Tay Melon there, so that's very exciting. Another exotic fruit that is a seasonal variety. We have it about 4 or 5 months out of the United States, grown mainly in, these ones are from Florida, but we also have them grown a lot here in California during the fall and winter months. Now in the early spring, late winter, we get the main variety of passion fruit out of New Zealand, and that season goes until about Mayish. So there's in between the growing areas, between domestic and import, there are gaps. But these fruits, you know, when you said passion fruit, most people have never seen the fruit itself. The fruit has bright yellow and green seeds on the inside. It is extremely juicy. I always say to this fruit, is a very concentrated fruit because a little bit goes a long way. You don't get a lot of fruit on the inside, but like I said, a little goes a long way, and that's why they're so popular in drinks and smoothies and whatnot. There's an interesting thing about the passion fruit that tells you that it's ripe. Not only is it very fragrant, the key to a ripe passion fruit is that you want it to wrinkle up. Almost, because this is smooth, this just came out of the refrigerators. You don't want to open it up and eat it right now. It'd be extremely tart. You want it to get sweet, and the way to do that, You sit it at a room temperature for about 3 or 4 days, and the fruit will start looking all wrinkly like a prune. Then you know they're ripe and ready to go because the sugars will come out and make the tart sweet. And this has been a tremendous trend throughout the United States. One last one that I wanted to bring up during the presentation here is Rambi Tans. And the Rambi Tans, most people think they're actually sea urchins, but they're not. They're actually related to the lychee and the longan. Rambi in Thailand means hairy, hence the name, so they're not spikes, you know. It's an actual fruit that grows out of a tree, and they're available now year-round, and we actually multi-source them. They're even more popular than lychee, because lychee is only available about 5 or 6 months out of the year. How do you open up one of these? Pretty easy. You can use a knife and score it all the way around, which is very easy to do like that. On the inside is the white translucent flesh. You pop that in your mouth. It has a white seed. Don't eat the seed. It's too big. And enjoy the flesh around it. It has a very similar quality to it, to the lychee and the longan. And it's just a fruit you can put out on a cheese board or a fruit plate. It's very elegant. I've also seen like chefs work with it in the restaurants where they make a dessert when they score it in half here. So they use the exterior as a shell or a tasting, more of like a little amuse-bouche or something like that. Very small dessert, but I've seen it before. So anyway, this fruit is available year-round, and don't be scared. These fruits are actually not only really tasty, but you'd be surprised of the, especially in the exotic fruit category, how sweet and flavorful they are and the health benefits that come along with them. Well, thank you, everyone, for being here. And I hope you learned a little bit more and are inspired to go into your local produce department and try some of these exciting tropical flavors and trendy flavors that you'll find in produce departments across the country. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to be taking questions. So I take your questions. What? Oh. The fruit, most often than not, when you do buy it in the produce department, it is ripe and ready to go. They'll actually, the Rambi Tans can stay in your refrigerator for about 10 days, maybe 3 days at room temperature. So if you want to extend the life in your refrigerator. But like berries, when you buy strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, usually they're ripe and ready to go when you get them from the store. Yes, Dorothy. Yes, the passion fruit.
So is the fruit part the kind of whiter part?
No. The fruit is the yellow and green seeds on the inside, so you scoop that out. You can strain out if you don't want to use the seeds. The seeds are like soft Tic Tacs, or you can grind them all up, and we'll add a little bit of fun grittiness to like a smoothie. I use the whole fruit, but a lot of the chefs, when they're making like, when it has passion fruit, you know, on a cheesecake or something like that, they'll strain out so that you don't have the crunchy seeds. Only if you want the texture in there. Yes. This is the skin, the rind, which is not edible. So of this fruit, like 50% of it is edible, and it's small, as you see there. You'll be able to take quite a few samples today, like 4 or 5 of them. Huh? Yes, when it ripens, the pulp dissipates, the fruit puckers up. But again, it's a very concentrated fruit. A little goes a long way. That's the key on passion fruit. Yes, you heard?
You made the point a while ago that fruits do not get sweeter, actually, because all the sugar is already there. With the passion fruit, you said that if you leave it, it will become.
It's the sugars will come out. It's part of the dyeing process, which is also referred to as the ripening process.
So what did you mean previously when you said that it does not get actually sweeter or that all the sugar is already there?
Once you pick it, it's constant. When you pick a fruit or vegetable, I know what you're talking about, Yukir, because we've had conversations about that before. When you pick a fruit off a tree, it's no longer being fed nutrients through the vine, through the stem. which allows when a fruit is sitting there on the tree to ripen up and to get sweeter. But because of logistics, we have to pull the fruit. It gets cut off like an umbilical cord, and then the fruit starts to ripen and die. But when it's first pulled off, the fruit can be like rock hard where you can't even bite into it. Have you ever like tried to cut into like an avocado? You just wasted an avocado that doesn't sit and start to ripen, which in the growing die is ripening. So during that process, when you pick a peach and they're rock hard, if you bite into it, it'd be as crispy as an apple and it'd have no sweet flavor. But if you set the peach out onto the counter, it will start to soften up, and the concentrated of sweetness on the inside will permeate throughout the whole fruit itself. So once you pick it from the vine, it's not going to get any sweeter. But you also have to let it ripen for the fruit to correctly be ready to be enjoyed. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Because you said if the sweetness was inside somewhere, you'll cut into it and you could theoretically find a place where it's sweet. But you say all the sweetness is already there. The
sweetness is contained within inside, but if the fruit is not fully mature, meaning ripening, the whole fruit will taste unusual because of the concentration of the flavors and the sweetness, because the texture will be off. If you bit into a hard peach, it would be more like an apple, and you would probably spit it out because you're like, something's wrong here. But there is this process of the ripening stages that allows it to be optimal when it gets to the area. It's the magic that happens when produce is left out to ripen. It's part of that process. But if you kept if there was two peaches right next to each other and you pulled one off, and when it ripens up and it Brixes at a 17, if that other peach is still on the tree and you pick it like 2 weeks later, pull it off, let it ripen, it will Brix, the one that was on there maybe 2 weeks longer, will Brix like 19, 20 when it gets to the ripening process. Oh, and if you didn't know what Brix is a measurement of sugar content in a fruit. It's a tool of the trade. I talk about it all the time. It's called a refractometer. It's like a temperature gauge. And all it needs is a drop of juice, and it will measure the Brix level. For like a peach, a good Brixing peach would be about 17, 18, or 19. But a lot of the fruits that we bring in, because we let them tree ripen, they may Brix 20, 21, 22, which make a significant difference in terms of flavor profile. So, yes, Tess?
I always thought botanically coconut was a fruit, but on this you've got it as a tree nut.
Okay.
What is it?
Okay, it grows in a tree, but we call it is a fruit. It is a fruit, but because it's associated as the name coconut, we put that on there in case you have a really bad allergen. But in the phylum of fruits, nuts are in the fruit category, but they're classified as nuts. That's why a lot of times you'll find nuts in the produce department, especially during the holiday season. Yes, Dorothy.
Can you hold up a cactus paddle again?
Yes.
And pick one out here.
Okay.
And so what is the gooey stuff?
It's the natural part. Have you ever cut a cactus or an aloe plant before? It's natural to that. Yeah.
So that has not been cooked at all? It's been spiked.
Yeah. It's just cactus leaves.
Okay. So the spikes have been removed.
The only thing that was added is ascorbic acid. So it because it's cut and it's a fresh cut cactus, for allowing for it to have a 10-day shelf life in refrigeration, ascorbic acid is used on it.
So the stickers have gone off, come off of it.
You wouldn't do that if you had a cactus pad. Look at that.
And what's the most
Here,
popular thing to do with
touch it. Huh?
What's the most popular thing to do with
You cut them up into a salad with bell peppers and stuff. They're used in a lot of Latin things. Think of it as like the asparagus of the Latin community as a veg. So extremely popular. But you know, to me, it tastes kind of like an asparagus broccoli thing going on there. I like the taste of it. I definitely do not like cutting with it. I did it once and I got it in my finger because it's not the big spines you see. It's the little spines you don't see and get on your fingers, which you can get on the cactus pads and also the cactus fruit, the prickly pears. And so on a prickly pear, the way to pick it up, because the little ones are still sometimes in there, you have to hold it from top to bottom. On a prickly pear, I just don't have one with me, but that's a demonstration so you don't actually touch the things because you can just set it down and then cut around the skin. I actually cut it on this side, like pretend this is a cactus pear. So you cut it on that side, then you cut it on this side, and then you cut it like right there, and then the prickly pear will, the skin will come right off and you can peel it. It's like a round bulb in the shape of the cactus pear. I've never done that before, but it doesn't sound fun at all. Definitely. Yes, Jerry.
Could you address briefly the influence of, I see you have the turmeric root,
Yes.
the medicinal health, you know.
Okay, that has been a trend I've been talking about for a long time. We happen, huh? I'll go into it really briefly, but to make a long story short, we like the jackfruit. We've carried turmeric for like the longest time, forever. It wasn't until about 4 or 5 years ago, about the same time as the jackfruit discovery among vegan and vegetarians here in the United States. Yes, they do. Spoken from a true vegan. Anyway, what ended up happening is it started becoming popular from only selling a few cases a week to thousands a week now. But the main growth of the turmeric was the reason for how it's used from a health perspective. And it's used for inflammation, motion sickness, kind of like ginger, and also works as a substitute for ginger when you're juicing. So it also came out of the juicing trend as well, and as an alternative to use in a drink. Of course, today's drink has both turmeric and ginger in it, so you get the best of both worlds and a lot of the medicinal properties that go around that. But I could speak further into that. I just don't have the time. Yes, one last question, Christina?
I want to know why there's no black currants.
There are no black currants in the United States because only a few have ever asked for it. The red ones and themselves are, yes, because there has to be consumer demand for it. Black currants have like some of the most antioxidants for a fruit, concentrated, and you can find it concentrated in jellies and stuff like that. But currants here in the United States is very much a wild crop, and there's only 2 commercial crops that we have it, and we only have it in the summertime, like June and July, and the only other time we get them from Chile, where they're actually more popular down there. And it's only the red ones, and we have them in January and February. So those 4 months are the only time we can get currants, and the only ones we can get are the red ones. At one time, about 10 years ago, we used to have black, and we used to have white too. But the American consumer doesn't want to buy them.
But isn't it because they don't know about it? How are they going to know about it?
They don't know about it either. That's it. But we don't even, to tell you the truth, we. Okay. All right. They're not. If you try to dry currants in its true form, they'll kind of like dry to nothing. So I'm just going to tell you how it is. Dried currants in the store are actually dried champagne grapes.
No. I'm talking dried black currants.
I haven't seen them, but dried currants you buy at the store are actually dried champagne grapes.
They're not Zante from the Greeks?
Zante are AKA champagne grapes. AKA when you dry them, they call them dried currants. Oh, dried?
Yes.
Oh.
They're not dried black currants. And
okay.
It's misinforming the public, and they won't change it. They're not black currants.
Yeah.
They're currants. They're Zante currants.
Okay. Yeah, Zente currants are champagne grapes.
Correct,
Right.
correct.
Okay.